morning, everybody. My name is Austin Johnston. We're about to start off an exciting deep dive into kind of if you're talking about thinking about starting, owning, or growing your firm. But I want to start with a little background about me. So I run two companies. The first is AK Johnston. We're more of an agency type model. I've been around for 11 years. We do about 550 events a year. So it's quite busy. We do national, international, and a bunch of crazy stuff. So I've got a bunch of staff here that goes from producers to designers. And I actually own the back of house as well too. So it's audio, lighting, video, staging, rigging, trussing, you name it, logistics, transportation. We actually own our own semi-trucks. So we're logistically based firm as well. Other side of our business here under one roof is Ulterior. Ulterior is more of a agency fabricator. You're seeing a lot of pop-up activations and unique immersive experience being built out in physical space. And Ulterior is a white label fabricator. So we're a lot of brands, a lot of agencies, and we build really cool and mostly very weird stuff. So day in, day out, weird stuff. A lot of fun with that. So it's an exciting time for our industry. I kind of want to start off with a little kickoff about, where I think we're at, share with you guys my 2 cents, and then we'll kind of dive into how you can kind of take a piece of that. So I think we're in a really interesting time at an intersection of convergence of entertainment and engagement. And what that means is people are expecting more out of events. Bygone is the era of passive viewership where you go into a ballroom and you sit down and you have somebody talk at you and they have passive slides. And I think we're on the forefront of something that it requires guests to be more participant in the actual event itself. So whether it be a walkthrough, an engagement, a pop-up, they really want to get in there and have an emotional feeling with space. So that be signage, that could be registration, that could be the type of seating and the type of speakers that you're booking, but people want a dynamic sense that they're part of the experience. So it's much more engaging, much more active, and much less passive. Moving right along, the media spectrum has become very polarized with its interests and investments. People kind of view this as a negative, but I'm going to point out something positive. You have a full spectrum of media here. You've got your high-touch events and activations, which were regarded as very expensive and spendy, and we're all in that space, right? Then you've got passive advertising, which is magazines, billboards, Super Bowl ads. Then you've got high-tech digital marketing. You've got Facebook data and Google data, that data mining industry. And then you've got consumer-driven digital marketing. You've got your Instagram and your Snapchats of the world that are shareable. But I want to point something out that's interesting. High-touch events and activations and consumer-driven marketing are really one of the same. We're now being tasked with creating high-touch events that excite people to share it digitally because those social networks are much more powerful than just a passive walkthrough, photograph, whatever. We want people to be sharing these moments. So one of our words here at our firm is Instagrammable moment. And it's basically the viability of something, whether it be a step and repeat or a piece of signage, for people to go, I want to share that and take a photo and launch that and broadcast that to their networks on any kind of social media platform that they want. So think about it this way, to create playgrounds, and those are your events, create playgrounds to springboard digital. That's what we want to do. I think that's the future of our industry. So I want to analyze a business model here, and it's analog versus digital, right? This is my opinion of experiences, and this is actually a slide when I have a little more time to explain people love. And I want to explain something that American Express has an experiential marketing division, and they polarize themselves into 2 products. Their lower end products are fully digital. They're not even giving you a card anymore. It's all Apple Pay. And yet their high end products, like a Centurion or Platinum card, is completely analog, where it's all about experiences, Centurion lounges, because analog is luxury, print is premium, magazines, it's service centric, it's in real life, real interactions with real people, it's optional, tangible, and tactile. But digital is the future. It's rich and limitless, it's feature-centric, and it relies on social media, but it's noisy and also necessary. When you combine the two, you have that springboard of an analog experience to create digital content. That's magic, and that's, I think, where the industry is really kind of headed. Moving right along, you guys are doing it. So now what? What's the next step? If you're starting a firm, or you're maybe out of a firm now and you want to start your own firm, or you would just want to expand yours and get a little bit of momentum behind what you're doing. It's all about compliance, capabilities, and clientele. And I'll tell you why it's about compliance first, because if you don't have proper insurance or you don't have proper accounting, I can tell you from experience, I have not had the proper accounting, and it's served me very, very poorly when I started my company. You're going to be in a lot of trouble. So really creating a foundation that's based off of compliance and processes, that's wonderful. And then you can establish your capabilities. And what I mean by that is, if you do something very, very well, let's focus on that, master it, and then expand that service base to offer more capabilities or features of your firm before you just do everything. When I started my company, I did everything. And now again, we do everything, but that was a huge mistake. We did everything, we cut it back, and now we do everything again because we're launching it in very, very narrow silos. Because when we did everything, we were bad at everything, you know? Not bad, but just we weren't great at everything, right? And it's about clientele. We're fortunate in the state of being 11 years old where we're now paring down our clientele and our opportunities to focusing on really who we are as a company and who we service the best and the most day in, day out. So really in that order: compliance, foundational base, then focus on what you do and your team to do it, and then really pare down your clientele that you can hone in on what you really, really want to do with a laser-like focus. It's really cool. All right, so moving right along. Marcus Lemonis has a wonderful statement and mantra. It's people, then process, then product. Really, it's about your team. You know, if you're bad at your job or your team is bad at your job, there's not much there, right? Then it's about processes. So it's about having standards and procedures to make it consistent, trainable, scalable, you name it. Then about product is what you're doing any good. But it's hard to have a good product without good people. It's hard to have a good product without proper process. And that product is your business, especially in this field. This is my ultra secret tip to getting a business off the ground. It's just run like hell. I mean, that was kind of my mantra here, which led to a bit of a messiness in starting the company. But at the same time too, you know, every day I woke up and I could freak out about all the issues, or I could just get to work as soon as I had the energy to get there and just check things off lists. And really, yeah, run like hell, you know, do as much as possible. And if you find yourself with extra time on your hands, you might not be good for self-employment because there's always something you can do. When I'm here 12 hours, 15 hours a day in the office, I could always find something I can do. Marketing, follow-up, research, facilities, whatever it might be, or even just incentivizing my employees, really making sure that my team is tight, which is a nonstop battle that any company has at any scale, I'll tell you that. But it's something that there's always something to do, but just run like hell. That's kind of my tongue-in-cheek advice. So I want to ask the people that are listening that haven't yet started their own thing, why are you doing this, basically? And I want to be really gut check on this. And so I want to be very, have a lot of candor here. Well, option A is that you cannot find what you want anywhere else, or maybe the vibe is wrong, or you have a solution to a common problem. Maybe in your region, there's opportunity because there's not many people doing what you're doing. Or there's option 3, which is I want to make more money for myself. And I want to point this out. The last one is dangerous. A lot of people are inspired by this interesting Shark Tank era that we're in, and I would really be cautious about that. I think people see the positive sides of entrepreneurship and profitability and all of that, but they're not really seeing the really high price that you pay of monetary gain. So there's a big price that you pay here. So if that's the only reason why you want to start your own thing, go back to the drawing board and answer some more questions here, or create a team that can kind of work together collectively, because that by itself is the wrong way, in my opinion, the wrong reason to be in business or want to be in business. So again, gut check. Are you the right fit for the job? There's nothing wrong working for somebody as long as their values and talents echo your own. Are you able to find value in a business that values you? So question here whenever I hire people is really, why don't you just work for yourself? And it's kind of a trick question, really, because if the answer is, oh, that's my goal, that typically go the other direction, because that's a dangerous thing. But I really have a great team of people here who really find value in working for a company that's going to have their back, because I have their back, and we have a team that has their back, and as a collective unit, we're strong. But you got to make sure they're right fit for the job. I mean, it's a very lonely thing going out on your own, creating clients and that kind of thing. But just make sure that you know that there are options to find a better employer, maybe than of your own now, but there's a place for everybody. It might be a small firm, might be a mega firm, who knows? But be cautious before you just go playing traffic and starting a business. So are you ready for the loneliness, challenges, and rejection that you may face? Are you willing to fire your best friends? It's a question that a very close friend of mine had a question me about. She said it was one of the best pieces of advice I gave her, is that it's very lonely doing this. It's very scary. I have an example. It's kind of like playing handball, and the ball bounces back. So it's as if you're playing with somebody else. But what you don't realize is the power that you punch that ball towards the wall at varies how fast it comes back to you at. And if you miss the wall, you're going to go running real fast and off the path. So it's very lonely if you're going to be by yourself. So ideally you could find a business partner, but I started my first company with a business partner, didn't love it. So I started this lone wolf, and it's tough. It's very tough. Moving right along, really be honest in front of a mirror, assuming that you still want to go forward, and really ask yourself what you don't know or what you're not good at. And I tasked myself with this years ago after putting myself in a bad situation. And I realized that I hate accounting. It stresses me out. I mean, I would have my phone turned off when I first started my company, had my phone turned off every other week because I wouldn't pay the phone bill because I just hate it. It stresses me out. And even though we would be making money, I just didn't have a brain for it. So the first person I hired, my first hire, was an accounting person because it makes more sense to accompany my, go out there, play with clients, be busy with the industry, hands-on with what we did as work. But the accounting side, which is so essential to a business, was my weak point. And that still is my weak point. So it's my strongest thing that I hired to. Ask for help. You get a mentor, shadow somebody. If you have somebody that you know that's going to be doing a massive event that you can assist with, if you can offer your time, I would suggest that you do so. Some of the best lessons I learned were fundamental, and they learned when I was working at Starbucks at age 15. Exciting moment was when I actually worked for Starbucks corporate recently, and I was able to talk to senior leadership, the actual CEO of Starbucks, and tell him, I complimented him about STAR skills and all these ridiculous mantras that you had. But one of the best things I learned was connect, discover, and respond. Where you're connecting with somebody, discovering a need, and responding with a valuable approach and your advice, right? That was my best advice that I ever got. And I was 15 years old working as a barista for $7 an hour here. But again, consider a mentor, somebody you can email. And by the way, crazy for offering this maybe, but if anybody from this chat wants to email me quick advice or anything that you want to know, please keep in touch. I don't mind, because it's so valuable to have somebody you can bounce ideas off of if you are by this by yourself. And there is a network of support, and that's kind of the point of this network as well too for the event entrepreneurs. Quality is key. Good work speaks for itself. This is so critical. I think everybody in this industry knows, and if you're on this chat, you probably understand that it's easy to be caught in a lie if you're not good at your job. And I would suggest that you be very transparent. If you are very transparent with your clients and say, hey, look, for instance, I had an event on Saturday that was wild. It was dinner for 1,400 people with a program. And there's a point with your client where you can no longer client service and give them the yes answers that they want. You need to go, look, there's a problem, and here it is. I'm solving it with ABC. So be solutions oriented and solutions focused. Don't just tell them that it's a problem, but don't be caught with, don't be caught in a situation where you've been made a liar, and don't be caught in a situation where you've put the veil on your client, the blinders on your client, because they will find out and that will ruin your reputation. So that's something you want to be really cautious of, kind of going at this by yourself. We're the hairdressers and dentists when it comes to loyalty. It's kind of an interesting example there, but think about it. Not a lot of people change their hairdresser or dentist. So it's a very hard thing to break into, but the one thing you have going for you in our industry is that loyalty is very strong. It's hard to break in, but as long as you're forged on honest, quality roots of doing good work, your reputation will speak for itself. And that's how we built our business. We've never marketed for new business or biz dev. It's one of the first questions business owners have for me. How did you build your business and how do you get new clients? We don't. We luckily answer the phone. As egotistical as that sounds, good work does speak for itself, and people will make referrals in this industry. They very, very much do. And I love that, because when I walk into a meeting off a referral, there's much less talk about my background and vetting process, because I've been validated by somebody that they already know. So again, be ready for a barrier there, because we are the hairdressers and dentists industry, but that's a good thing for you later in life when you do build a deck of clients. And forgive me for speaking quickly. I have a lot to go through. I just want to kind of touch on really cool bullet points to walk through the process. And again, follow up with questions, because I think we're going to be tight on time here. So maybe hold a big meeting until you're really ready. I was excited because I had an opportunity with eBay years ago, and I was nowhere near ready to host that meeting. I could probably reach out again today, but we just weren't a company that was established enough. And even today, when we work with broadcast clients, I ask my team, I say, if we got this job at this value, could we deliver on it? And you want to be very honest with yourself about that, and be very cautious about running into an opportunity because it sounds so great and the money, the check looks good. Be really cautious, because I do it, I've done it, and I don't suggest it. It's very uncomfortable. It's very hard to dig yourself out of if you're in over your head. And oftentimes they can tell, and you won't get invited back to that table to eat. Client experience is all about client experience. I can't stress that enough about how your clients feel working with you. It relies on 3 factors: communication and transparency. So being prompt, communicating with them, being honest about expectations, that kind of thing. Quality and promise. That's doing what you say you do, right? Living up to the caliber. If they emailed about it, did it get executed? And then performance and experience. Did everything go off as they expected? All these 3 bullet points here are really hand in hand as 6 mushy facts that rely on each other to exist. But the experience of working with you is everything. On Saturday, I literally yelled at my client because they were being ridiculous, because they were very stressed, but we had to get something done to keep their guests happy. And that's most important. And in the end, they appreciated that, because it was the best way to get them in line and in order, was just to go hard and do it and say, look, I'm sorry, but we have to go now. And that level of transparency, I had their back on that, and my team had their back on that, because there's a limitation, as you all know. It's a limitation to what you have flexibility on with hotels, contracts, overtime, keynote speakers, you name it. But be transparent and communicative. Communication is key, as you guys know. But people remember how it was working with you overall, and they oftentimes forget about those little tense moments when everyone's freaking out and stressed out, and that CEO is breathing down their neck too. Again, how does it make me feel? Our company's tagline actually is, we are where story meets experience. And I want to challenge you all with that. You are where story meets experience. Our industry is a crossroads of stories and experiences, whether it's boring point and click, or it's an experiential activation. People get to explore a museum of ice cream type of thing. But people remember how it made them feel. You know, they don't often remember the minutia, the little negative thing that happened, the little snafu, but they remember how it made them feel. And if they feel largely negative, that's not good. Even if nothing went wrong, you can have a negative feeling because the overall feeling just wasn't, But if they really feel like you have their best interest in mind, because you're client-centric and client-focused, they're going to feel good about that. Know your reputation on the street and how to lean into it or fix it. I was furious when Topgolf Las Vegas, who knew about us, they were vetting us, but they said, we asked around and we heard that you guys are expensive but good. And I was like, what? Expensive? Good. I thought it was kind of backhanded. And I thought about it. I like being expensive but good. And so we're now leaning into that. And we're not that expensive, by the way, but we are not that's absolutely certain. And we don't operate cheaply. And I don't have cheap people. We don't have cheap equipment. And that's what I tell people. I say, look, if you want the cheapest, go find it somewhere else. But we're cheap but good. I like that. Maybe I wouldn't coin that phrase, but know your reputation on the street. And that was mine. And we've leaned into it quite well, and I'm happy with it now. But know where you stand and what the lasting memory of your reputation is. You are the brand. Let's talk about that for a second. I want you guys to establish a publicly facing brand that really has some brand value and identity that markets what you want to show, even if it's aspirational. So where you want to be in 5 years or 2 years, but really don't forget to be authentic. I think 2019 more than ever, you need to be authentic. You know, if you want to be a little weird, be a little weird. Like, we're super weird. If you want to be a little weird, be a little weird. If you want to celebrate your heritage or your culture and you want to showcase that in your brand, do that. People appreciate that level of authenticity. And here's why. If you want your clients to understand, respect, and communicate with you on the same level, if you behave and your brand behaves like something that you're not, that's who you're going to attract. So if you attract this stuffy corporate crowd because you want to pantsuit up every meeting and be very, very rigid, that's who you're going to attract in 2 to 5 years, right? But if you want to be a little off the cuff and you want to be creative and a little casual, a little spicy, do it and showcase that in your brand, please. And that's repeat. Sorry about that. Create a client-centric brand or else. So this is a funny little slide here, but being non-customer centric is the biggest threat to any business. So don't forget, Netflix didn't kill Blockbuster. Ridiculous late fees did. Uber didn't kill taxis. Limited access and fare control did. I also am convinced that it's also just general driver decorum and lack of, accountability. Apple didn't kill the music industry. Being forced to buy full albums did. Amazon didn't kill retail, but bad customer service and experiences did. Don't forget that you're writing your own story here, really. Clients do not come first. Employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of your clients. So I'm going to depart from my statement about being a client-centric business because by proxy, the people that you hire are taking care of those clients, right? So you're creating a client-centric mantra of your company, and then taking care of your employees creates this ecosystem where you have this really strong atom, of your client ecosystem and staff ecosystem, and it all revolves around that client. But within that, your employees are really your most important focus. If you're a CEO or running the business, that is focus, main focus for you. All right, popping into branding. What to spend money on here? I still love a business card. I still have a Rolodex. I like a fat paper thing. I just love a business card and a strong logo that represents who you are. Not to offend, but I think that you should spend a little money to make sure it's a quality printing job. Maybe don't put your large photo, your headshot on there like you're auditioning for something, but rather, have a really strong brand that's scaled however big that you want to be. When I named our company AK Johnston, I regret that now because I didn't see it at scale when I started it, and it just feels like an ego play. But come up with a clever name that really kind of wraps what you want to showcase, right? And have a really strong website and email. Even if the website is just a very clean-cut, larger business card of what you do or a small portfolio, have that. And please get a domain name for your email. Just you go to GoDaddy.com, and for $9 per year, I believe you can own your URL, which would be like @yourdomain.com. It's nice, it's professional. You don't need an 800 number or a big office, but that's it. And I would suggest that you also spend money on one media vehicle to keep current. Ours is Instagram. So if you could please follow us on Instagram, it's AK Johnston Group. That would be really awesome. And I suggest the same for you all as well. I like that little taste of portfolio. It's a few images per project that we do and you move on. But Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, you can get lost in all that. So if you spend money and time on one media vehicle and really go hard with that, keep it maintained, I think it'd be in a strong place. What not to spend money on. Branded frickin' pens. Everyone spent money on branded pens. Stop it. Stop it. There's so much swag piled in your offices. If you do it, that's a cardinal sin to spend money on that kind of stuff. And also a fancy office just to play office. We have some people in this LA market of mine that really do that, and they've gone out of business because of it, because they've wanted that illusion that they're a big, big, big thing. But be humble in how you grow and scale and say, look, we're small but mighty. We've got 3 of us. We work out of a WeWork or we work out of an apartment. There's no shame in that game. People like that transparency. It's okay. And then of course, ego, I did it. I bought the expensive car as soon as I could, but that can really serve you poorly. If you spend all your operating funds on something that builds up your ego and not up your clients, and it's definitely a mistake. Every day, ask yourself and your team, what is your contribution to our continued success? So really ask yourself this. But if you have a team, kind of put this in your head a little bit, attitude and professionalism, like I said, it's about that feeling about how it is to work with you, right? And then aptitude, knowledge and ideas. Aptitude is not all about what you know, it's about how many ideas that you have about how to grow. Any creative department knows that. So my creative director and art department, they know that. It's not always about like a for sure solution. It's about having concepts and vision and creative outlook and all that. And that's aptitude, really know what you're doing and also know how to say that, attitude, aptitude. And then of course, dedication and perseverance, because attitude and aptitude are nothing unless you can push through and get to the finish line. Really analyze your strengths and weaknesses, see what you can do better. Look at your competitors. Don't be mad at your competitors. Idolize what they're doing and say, why is that different? Why is that better than I've done it? Really be self-aware on that. And you need to embrace all ideas and input, but really be open to change and evolution. That's critical and key. If you cannot embrace evolution, you will soon embrace irrelevance. It's super important. Every entrepreneur has said that before, that if you cannot evolve with it, you're about to be irrelevant. So be really careful that you embrace new ideas, embrace new teams' ideas, junior people's ideas, do team meetings and team outings, and really understand that somebody might have a better perspective than yourself, even if they're not on your core team. Call your sister-in-law, whatever it might be. But embrace that evolution and embrace all ideas. It's really nice. So be an admirable and responsible leader, not necessarily a boss, right? Think about being good for the client always. And then is it good for the company? And then is it good for the world? So we're at a world sense where our clients are well taken care of by a really good team that I have. Is it good for the company? Is it making money? Is it what we want to be doing? And then of course we look at our impact. Of course, being in America right now and being in Los Angeles, we're analyzing how our eco footprint is going to be, because we're in a very high waste industry, you know. So I think you're seeing that across hotel industries, fabrication industries, but we're definitely embracing that because we're very responsible for creating carpet waste, wood waste, water bottle waste, all that kind of stuff. We need to be mindful of that, you know, especially right now in 2019, which is the worst time to be alive, I would think. Be mindful. And then this fun little slide here, which is really just about being a leader instead of a boss. And I'd love to share these slides with everybody as well too. So we can kind of dive into this if you have more time in hindsight. But I want to just encourage all of you, please go tell your story. It's unique, it's special, and it could be very, very engaging and very fun. So I will go into the chat now. I will share all the slides, no problem. And that was where we're at. So we're at a half-hour time. I got 4 minutes left. Mahogany, is there anything else that we could kind of go through or touch on?
I'd love to hear what your favorite project is.
Ooh.
One of the favorite. You've done some really cool things. If you haven't checked out Austin's Instagram, like you're definitely missing out. But there has been some very cool projects and very cool ideal that have come out of them.
You know, here's the thing. We're all going to inherit, here's a lifespan of an event, a project, a conference, an activation, an experience, whatever it might be. Here's the time frame. And a lot of people look at the whole spectrum, and you don't always get access to the full spectrum. You come in here with an internal events department that'll give you this much to execute. You're just executing. You're not ideating and creating. When we get the full access to the full scope of the project, it's exciting because the ideas that your team comes up with, you're able to execute. But don't be discouraged by executing in somebody's likeness. It is your job to advise. It is their job to follow that advice. You get paid for that advice and advisory. That's about it. I mean, but don't do anything that you don't believe in. But just make sure that you're always being transparent with your clients and your honest feedback of what it is. Our most exciting stuff we've done, we recently did a gas station at the side of the road for Coachella. That was very, very fun. We had 3.5 weeks to build this thing. And we created this Instagrammable moment pop-up store for YSL Beauty at Coachella, and it created an ungodly amount of footprints. It was incredible. And that was fun because it was really just immersive and colorful, and we love doing that kind of stuff. Also too, just a lot of fun with conferences and people. I like working with people, you know, and if you don't like working with people, get out of this industry fast, because you're gonna have a deep love for people to stay in this industry, right? And one of the hardest lessons I learned in business is really just what it took to get to this point. I would say that everyone asks me, you know, is this where you thought you'd be? And the answer is actually yes. And honestly, I've always wanted to do this. I actually started a lighting company when I was 15 because I was a weird kid. And when I was in 4th grade, I asked Santa Claus for a Sawzall, like a Makita saw, which is now here in the company in inventory, because I was always a weird kid that always wanted to do this. But the hardest lesson I've learned in business is how to monetize my passions and when not to monetize my passions. So if you like planning events, that's great. That's a hobby. But if this is a business, it's a different approach. It's a different thing altogether, because you have to make money too, right? And the biggest mistake from an owner's perspective, I don't know. I don't really think you can't really make mistakes. They're all kind of beautiful mistakes, but it'd be about overextending yourself. If you've got young kids at home and you don't have a high threshold of cash to fund your business not making money, be really cautious. Honestly, be really cautious about that, because I would hate to see you be disappointed with where you got because you went into it too early. So gain experience when you're at General Motors as their in-house planner. Gain experience from a national or international event planning agency, and then really go hard and lean into the importance of doing it your way, right? And how do you keep innovating your events? And that'll be my last question before I close out here. You keep innovating by engaging your entire team. So for instance, we work with the NFL on a few different projects per year, and I'm not a football fan. Maybe you can tell by just seeing me, I don't know, but I'm not the best person for NFL stuff. So we pull in the shop guys for creative sessions for NFL stuff. And the reason why is this: my creative director can have great ideas, whatever, but who cares? And you know why? Because the audience for that is those people in the back who go to NFL games, who are crazy fans, right? You want to tap into what the guest experience is going to be. And if guests can't selfishly get something out of the experience, you've done it for no reason. So that's where I'll leave it here.